Welcome to Shining the Light. My name is Sonny Walebowa, and my guest today is one and the only, Pako, Moshaga. He's a personal brand development, motivational speaker, author, CEO at Talita Komi Consulting. He's going to tell me more about this. How are you, my brother?
Thanks, man. Thanks. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, man, let's just really talk about this. What is branding and what isn't? What is a brand?
Okay. So, branding is basically differentiating yourself. That's the long and short of it. Differentiating yourself in your field. That is branding. Now, what branding isn't, it's not bragging. It's not being arrogant. It's not being egotistical. It's just about putting your best foot forward and owning it as well.
Wow. Before we delve deep into this, man, I'm loving it already. I'm loving it already. Let's talk about your background, where you were raised, where you were born, raised, and so forth, where you went to school, I mean,
All
we don't
right.
have to talk about everything, like just the basics, right?
No, cool. So I'm from Kanye. That's my home village. Grew up pretty much in Caps, but I still do go to Kanye quite frequently. Then schooling wise, I started at Lechaye Primary. Then from there I went to G West and then GSS and then UB. And yeah, that's really what my schooling background was. Then in terms of beyond that, really, the way that I grew up in an awesome household, a loving household, a tight knit family. So I've been fortunate to have a really great background and to have been raised in love and also raised to believe in myself. And who I am today is largely a function of how I was raised.
So you believe that, being raised in the right environment, especially on the foundation of love, that could shape you to be a great brand.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Wow. Wow. I love it, man. I love it. So when did you realize that, you want to go this route of helping people to brand themselves, helping, entities to become great brands?
I'd say I learned it in school, kind of. You know, there's a course that I did called Investment in Excellence, offered by Pacific Institute. So the course it's a mindset performance course. So it taught a lot on understanding who you are and understanding what power and influence you have and the level of influence that you've given away to those around you and what it does to the way that you see yourself and how able you believe you actually are. So I did that course and post the course, I sat down and I reflected, and I looked at all the good things that I had going for me, and I looked at the level of confidence that I had, and it was misaligned. So that I had a number of good traits and skills, but my confidence was on the other end of the spectrum. So I worked on having a healthy view of myself. And as I did that, everything just exploded. I gained confidence, self-worth, esteem, and everything. And I started wanting to explore more. And ultimately, I fell into personal branding. Then I branded myself. I found that the principles worked for me, and that's how I found them into a business.
Yeah, man. I've saw a couple of your work, your shows. I was like, let me say your videos. I was like, this guy got it, man. I gotta talk to him because he probably can help me too. So,
Thanks, man.
um, you see, I'm a big fan of both to Ubuntu, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you see over here, where I am right now. So you see people who don't. You can tell that these people don't have this too, but you can tell that these people don't have it. But also they are revered as great brands. What can you say about that?
So I think that comes back to culture, right? So
Hmm.
the
It
culture
comes
that
back
we
to
have,
culture. I love that.
the culture that we have in Botswana and in South Africa, generally, is founded on both, and both is essentially being humble. But our culture, I'd say, over emphasizes being humble to the point of where I'd say, you debase yourself. So there's a fine balance between being humble and and basically watering yourself down. So I believe
Uh-huh.
that our culture tends to lean more towards debasing yourself.
Yeah.
And when we talk about branding, it's the exact opposite of our culture. And so, in our space, when you brand yourself, you come across as someone who is arrogant or someone that has some kind of ego, as compared to the Western world or the States where you are, where the culture is different. The culture there is more about owning what you are good at and wearing it on your sleeve. Like, what, I'm the best, and I want people to know I'm the best, and I'm not shy about it. So the difference in culture affects how we approach personal branding and how well received it is by the people in the environment.
Sometimes we walk around carrying guilt, shame, perhaps even from since we were young, right? So, and it becomes difficult for somebody to really stand out. How do you help somebody like that, man?
I love that point, because when I work with my clients, the first thing that we work on is their self-image.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to branding and the suits and the pocket squares and all those things, we we look at the mindset. We look at their thinking pattern, because your brand is a manifestation of how you see yourself. I'm dressed this way because the mental picture I have of myself is aligned to this image. So if I have a wrong perception of myself, it
Mm-hmm.
will show in how I show up to work, in how I deal with other people, in how I even deal with myself as well. So when I work with a client, I first look at where they come from, how they grew up, and the perception that they have of themselves. So your self-image is exactly that. It's an image of yourself. It's how highly skilled or how not highly skilled you think you are, how great you are as a host or how not so good you think you are as a host. So until you fix the way that you view yourself, you can never bring yourself to the best of your ability. So I take clients through the journey of understanding how they see themselves and how to reshape and to redefine that into a positive image. And as we do that, the way that they dress, the way that they speak and carry themselves will align to the positive image that they have of themselves.
I watched, something that you talked about, and you talked about you gave an example of the Rock, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that the Rock started as a wrestler. Now he's a big movie star. Can you expound on that?
All right. So in that instance,
By the way, before you move to that point,
uh
I was turned down looking for jobs because of my
okay.
dreadlocks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about The Rock in terms of rebranding and the use of brand equity. So The Rock found success as a wrestler, right? People loved him as a wrestler, and he had brand equity. And brand equity is basically following, trust, and respect from those around you. Then he took that following and respect and he transferred it into acting. Because we loved him as a wrestler, we'll love him as an actor as well. He's established himself in one area, then he transferred all that goodwill into a new area, being acting. So when you are established as a brand, you have the ability to branch out into other fields. And because of the strong foundation and following that you have and the good brand that you've built, you are able to almost be guaranteed of success in your new line. And I know that we see this a lot in the States. A number of people start out as artists, singers, rappers, and the likes, then they end up acting as well down the line. And that's because they have a strong foundation. And now, because of that foundation, they're easily able to launch into a new field and be likely to succeed in that new area. Yeah.
I read somewhere where it says that you don't. It's not about what you say;
Mhm.
it is about what they say about your
That's
brand. And I think it
really
speaks to what you already sort of kind of touched on, right? Like it's about how people think about you, right?
yeah. And actually, one of my favorite quotes says, "Your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Oh,
That's your brand." Yeah,
whoa!
that's it. Really, that's a perfect summary of what your personal brand is.
I love that, man. I love that.
Simple but profound.
Mm. And
Yeah,
then you also talked about Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah sort of kind of did the same thing, right?
100%. I mean, it's in the same vein.
Hmm.
Started out as a comedian, built a strong, solid foundation, and that basically worked as a launch pad to him being where he is today. I mean, he started out next door in SA, and now he's in the States, and he's based in the States, but he is global now. So because he had a well polished and managed brand, it gave him the ability to launch out into a bigger world.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's it really.
I was just talking to ATI the other day here,
Hmm.
um, and and I believe he's somebody that should be helped as far as branding is concerned because I think he has a big talent.
I mean, ATI is extremely talented
Hmm.
as an artist, as a songwriter, you know,
Hmm.
and he has a very unique brand. I'd say he has a dynamic brand. It's very versatile and unpredictable and, energetic. And
Hmm.
that's what fans love about him. The
Yeah.
fact that his brand, you don't know what he'll be doing tomorrow. And that's really what works for him. And it's not easy for most people to pull that off, but he does it in such a way that he always manages to bounce back and to keep his fan base and to have his fan base even support him on social media, and defend him like, no, no, this is our guy, this ATI. We love him like this. We understand him. We know what he means. We know that he means well in the things that he does. So it's a fine balance, but some artists are able to basically go, I'd say, off.
But would you say he
Yeah.
can penetrate the international standard with the brand that he has, as compared to people like artists like Burna Boy, and I'm talking about Africans here. You know what I mean? Who are big here in the United States, and I believe that ATI has that big talent, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, if you speak to a larger market outside bots, they expect the more um, conventional, kind of
Hmm.
artists,
Hmm.
fairly predictable in terms of what they're going to put out, how they're going to appear, what they're going to say online and the like. So I definitely say outside of our market, it'll be a different landscape, and it's likely to be more challenging,
Hmm.
because it won't be a homegrown market, and they'll judge based on um, what they hear him say in a podcast, how they see him show up and the likes, But because we've known him for a number of years, we understand that that's his style and that's his brand. So for anyone who is new to his brand, it'll definitely come off as something different, as
Hmm.
something
Hmm.
maybe unusual as well.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I see you can resonate everywhere. You can resonate here, even here. You can kill it, you know.
Thanks.
And I think you're already doing that. You know what I mean? So, um, look, man, advantages and disadvantages of a sound personal branding.
So I'd say I'll start with the good stuff, right? With the
Mhm.
advantages. So the first advantage of having a strong brand is that you have a good reputation. and your reputation will speak for you in your absence. And people that don't even know you personally, based on your brand, are willing to recommend you. Like, I'll give you an example. Social media, mostly on Facebook, a number of people that share my posts haven't met me personally. They've only seen me online. They've only interacted with my content on Facebook, YouTube, on TikTok, and the likes. But because of the trust and the respect that they have for the brand, they share my content, and in doing that, they basically market my content with each share. So when you have a solid, sound brand, your goodwill will get people to refer you and to essentially market you as a service provider or as a consultant or whatever it is that you do. So opportunities, recommendations are by far the biggest advantage you get. Now, the downside of branding is that you can't afford to be reckless when you're building a brand. That's why a number of artists have brand managers that manage their social media platforms. They post on their behalf. They respond in place of the artists, because a brand manager has a certain level of understanding in terms of how to address people, how to respond maybe to negative comments, or to bad press, just like you'd have a PR expert speaking on behalf of a company. So when you're building a brand, you can't afford to be, I'd say, to act on your emotions. You can't afford to just go online and then just go on a long rant about, let's say, maybe the leadership in the country, or some other sensitive matter like that. So you have to always think through: should I post this? Is this helping my brand, or is this taking value away from the brand that I have built? So that's the first disadvantage, is that you need to basically sanitize your content and ensure it's aligned to the principles of your brand. And lack of doing this is why artists that have any endorsements lose out on those endorsements when they fall into a scandal, some bad press about them, which goes viral. They are likely to lose endorsements because they then get out of line with the principles of the brand that has basically endorsed them. So I'd say those are some of the advantages and the downsides of it.
That's cool, man. That's good. I mean, you were talking about disadvantage here, and as you were talking about artists, especially about artists, and I was thinking about Kanye West. How Adidas dropped him. Maybe it was a great partnership, but I still believe that Kanye West, Yeezy, his brand will still be strong. I don't know. Do you think his brand will fall apart?
I don't think his brand will fall apart. I mean, Kanye's been in the business for decades, so he has a lot of
I think
followers.
he has his tribe, right? Like, go ahead.
Definitely, he has his tribe as an artist and as a designer as well. So he has a very good, strong base, and I think that he's going to surpass this.
Yeah. But do you think what he said will actually? No, let's not get into that, man. Let's not get into that. I think that can be a little bit controversial. Let's not get into that. So when you look at somebody, let's say like President Masisi, do you think his personal branding helped him to become president?
I mean, I definitely say yes, because a personal brand speaks to.
I mean, you have known him for a long, long time. I mean, at least seeing him, right?
Yes, no, we've seen him in the public space for a number of years before he became our leader. And I'd say yes, it definitely helped. I mean, because in politics, I mean, it's partly the strength of your brand, then it's also a bit of lobbying as well. So I'd say because of the brand that he had in the nation and in the political space, that definitely added equity and goodwill in terms of him being endorsed on top of that as well. So it's a number of factors brought together, but his personal brand definitely had to play a part in that.
Wow. And also I want to know, how your personal branding actually flows into your service or your product or your entity, because
Uh-huh.
entity is also, yeah, go ahead.
So, in terms of how your brand, your personal brand flows into your corporate or company brand, it's based on brand equity again. If I trust you and I respect you as a person, anything that you bring to me in the form of a business benefits from the trust and respect that I have for you personally. So because a brand is linked to you, I'm likely to like it as well. And we see this in what's his name? Elon Musk.
Hmm.
If- Because we respect him as a person and an individual, and what he's achieved and his intellect as well,
Hmm.
has benefits from that. So you'd find that if you removed him as the face of Tesla,
Hmm.
that would definitely affect their corporate brand.
Hmm.
You see, so people that understand this well use it to their advantage. I mean, just to bring it home, we have V. You know, V is an artist who's been in the game for more than 20 years now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because of the following that he has, he's managed to launch products. He's launched water, bread, and energy drink as well. And they are doing well, and they are benefiting from the fact that there are these products, and they even have his name as part of the branding. So a strong personal brand can be transferred to back a company or a product that is linked to that personal brand. You know, so there are so many examples. I mean, I can talk to Bill Gates and Microsoft, Steve Jobs and Apple. So
Yeah.
a number of people that understand this concept well have managed to actually monetize their personal brand.
So when you talk about Steve Jobs, that's why, when the board kicked him out, the company sort of kind of fell apart. They had to
Yeah,
bring him back, right?
exactly. 100%. Yeah,
No, I
yeah,
was saying that
yeah.
that's interesting because I was thinking about Black Coffee as you were talking, that there are some artists or DJs who started before him, yeah, like doing the same thing, but it seems like his brand keeps on growing globally.
Mm.
I mean, everybody, if I go around the corner here, ask somebody that, do you know Black Coffee? What
Yeah,
makes his
exactly.
brand to be so huge to continue to grow, man?
I mean, firstly, he's good at his trade. You know, he's a talented artist. So that's the foundation of any brand, actually having some kind of value or skill or talent that backs that brand. So that's the first thing. And beyond that, I think he's managed to build a strong personal brand. I mean, fine, he's had his issues in the media and the likes, but overall, packaged a very strong personal brand, and because of that, it's allowed him to have a good reputation, which is the foundation of you getting out there into the world. And also, he's linked himself to strong international brands. And when you are associated with a strong personal brand, you benefit from their fan base. Like, I mean, if I was in the music space and I
Mm-hmm.
took a picture with, let's say, Drake as an example,
Mm-hmm.
he posts it on his socials. The fact that I'm on his picture on his page, I get followers by that, and people get, or rather, people accord me respect for being associated with Drake, and that adds value to my own brand as well. So those are some of the things that have allowed him to, just go up the ranks, so to speak, globally.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's talk about how a sector like Botswana tourism can use good branding to scale.
Yeah, I mean, BTO does a great job. I think firstly, just to commend them for that. You know, they do a lot of great stuff, and we've seen that traction. So to add on to the work that they're doing, I think bringing in an element of homegrown talent, is definitely always a nice touch, because homegrown talent will always offer a different type of music, of art, or whatever it is that they do will always be different from what is seen in other parts of the world. So adding that on to branding the nation as well is something that would, I believe, add a bit more mileage to the country. And something also that I saw them do during the Forbes 30 under 30 is branding the city. I thought that was a really great touch, and it really allowed um, Gabs to be seen differently, to have a defined, authentic African brand, with the graffiti and the zebra crossings and everything which was unique to our landscape and our culture. So having that as a permanent thing, as a fixture, basically, I believe it's something that will also help us to brand our nation. I mean, which is something that other countries have done, and it's working for them.
Wow, that's cool, man. I was thinking about, and this is not actually a religious point by any means, but I was thinking about how when Jesus Christ was coming into the scene, you know, one of the two, three guys that he first started grooming went to tell others, "Hey, man, we have seen the right guy here." You remember that, So,
Yeah,
and I thought that that was a brilliant way of actually growing the brand, you know, because it kept
yeah.
on growing, right?
Great
So,
example.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
the relationship between marketing and branding.
No, definitely, it's more than a logo. It's way, way more than that.
Mm,
So the relationship is your brand, like we said at the start, is what differentiates you. So it's like your personality. It's like your mark. Your vibe, as they say these days. Then marketing is basically a way to communicate your personality. Is basically a way to tell people about you. So you're here, you are good at, let's say, singing. So marketing is basically different ways, mediums, and platforms of telling people about you and your singing ability. And that's the difference.
wow. So, for those who have budget,
Yeah.
where do they put the money? Do they put the more money on marketing or more money on branding?
I mean,
I mean, I guess
I'm
it
a bit
depends on the
in the business.
on the size of
Yeah.
the business and so forth, right?
Yeah, no, true, true, true. And also, I mean, being a branding expert, I will lean more towards, focusing on branding. But I appreciate the need for both. And as you say, it really depends on the product and the service that is being offered. But one thing is that a strong brand will market itself. You know, a strong brand will get people to market on their behalf. It's like an iPhone. iPhone is focused a lot on their branding. They focused a lot on the look and the feel and everything, such that iPhone users are now unofficial marketing agents for Apple. They'll gladly tell you about the iPhone. You won't even have to ask them. So a strong and solid brand sells itself. But of course, you still need to have a bit of marketing. But if you have a superior product or service, then that's really a sound and sure foundation.
Talk about your coaching.
All right. So I offer different services under my company. So one, I help clients to build a personal brand from scratch. You come in and we look at what you offer and we work on how to build a solid personal brand online and offline. Then beyond that, I also coach in the area of public speaking. I held a public speaking class sometime last year, July. Sold out event was really great. So now I
Let me know
offer.
about that one. I want to attend that one. So please.
I'll definitely send you a flyer
Next,
next.
yeah.
So now I offer public speaking coaching one-on-one online as well.
Okay,
You know,
cool.
beyond that, I also help with job interview coaching. Because branding is about how you present yourself, whether it's a job interview or a media interview, which is something that I also offer training on, how to handle podcast interviews, as an example, or
Right,
TV or radio,
right.
whatever it is that has to do with you packaging and presenting yourself to the world, I offer coaching around that. Yeah.
So the name of your company is called Talita Kumi.
Yeah.
I'm interested in knowing how did you come up with that name, man? I mean, that's interesting. That's
Yeah. So it's based on my faith. I'm a Christian, and so I wanted to name my company something that would glorify God. Something that would go back to where I believe my gift and talent come from. And so it's a phrase that was said by Jesus in Mark 5:41, and basically means rise up. Rise up child or rise up young girl, but generally you can take it as saying rise up, which is what I help people do, to rise up to the best version of themselves.
yeah, that's cool. And in the end, how would you want people? I mean, they should remember you right now.
Yeah, I hope they do. So, I mean, for me, I believe I'd want to be remembered for my purpose on this earth, and I believe that my God-given purpose is to transform and inspire people. So I want people to remember me as someone that helped them transform into their true selves, someone that helped them discover their purpose or helped them develop a healthy view of themselves, a healthy self-image of themselves, and with that, allowed them to live a better life, a fulfilled life. So ultimately, transformation. That's what I'd want to be remembered for.
Wow, that's profound. And your message of hope, my brother.
Message of hope, man, is you are not who people say you are.
Ooh, I love that.
That you are not who your environment says you are. Whether it's
Mm,
your environment or whether it's the people or whether it's your social environment, that is not what defines you. You may have grown up with that. Maybe that's what you've seen all your life, but that does not have to be your destiny. You define who you want to be and what you want to become out of this life. And you will never achieve anything beyond the opinion you have of yourself. Until you believe and trust in yourself, you can never perform beyond that. Everyone can praise you, give you all the accolades and everything, but until you buy into it, it doesn't matter. It'll never matter. So work on the opinion that you have of yourself, and once you do that, it'll all explode.
wow. How do we find you? How do
All
people
right.
find you?
All right. No, awesome. So people can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok under my name's Pako Moshaga on each platform. Follow there for all of my content, and yeah, and let's interact. Let's comment, inbox, and let's have a conversation and improve each other.
You're the guy, man. You're the guy. I'm gonna seek your help for sure. I'm gonna seek your help for sure. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, man. It's been awesome,
Thanks.
man. It's been awesome. Appreciate you.